The Minotaur stands as one of the most unforgettable and terrifying figures in the vast and intricate tapestry of Greek mythology. It is not merely its monstrous form, half man, half bull, that makes this creature so iconic, but also the profound and multifaceted symbolism embedded in its existence, an enduring tale that reaches far beyond the literal narrative of a beast lurking in a labyrinth. The Minotaur represents the darker side of the human psyche, a creature born out of transgression, pride, and divine retribution. It embodies the inescapable consequences of human frailty and the wrath of the gods, serving as a grim reminder that even the most powerful mortals are subject to the capricious whims of higher forces. Over centuries, the Minotaur's story has transcended its mythological roots, finding relevance in art, literature, philosophy, and psychoanalysis, each retelling deepening the layers of meaning, reflecting new insights about the human condition. This infamous hybrid creature, part human and part bull, dwelt at the center of one of the most ingenious yet terrifying architectural feats in history, the Labyrinth of Crete. This labyrinth was no ordinary maze. It was a complex and disorienting prison designed to entrap and confuse anyone who ventured into its winding paths. Built to hold the Minotaur in perpetual captivity, the labyrinth became a physical manifestation of the themes at the core of this myth: confusion, entrapment, punishment, and the mind's struggle to navigate the complexities of life. But the Minotaur's residence in the labyrinth is only part of a much larger story that begins with the powerful and prideful King Minos of Crete and his fateful dealings with the gods. The Minotaur's origin is a tale of cosmic consequence, one that begins not with the creature itself, but with the actions of mortals and gods whose destinies intertwine in a web of ambition, deceit, and divine retribution. At the center of this web is King Minos, whose desire for power and validation from the gods sets the stage for the birth of the monstrous being. Minos, one of the sons of Zeus and Europa, was already born with divine blood, his father being the king of gods himself. This divine lineage imbued Minos with extraordinary confidence in his right to rule, but it also placed him in constant competition with his brothers, who likewise sought to claim the throne of Crete. Unlike the myths of many other kings in Greek mythology, Minos' path to power was not guaranteed by inheritance alone. He needed a sign, a divine endorsement that would set him apart from his rivals and cement his claim to the throne as one favored by the gods. To secure his place as king, Minos made a bold and significant move. He prayed to Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, asking for a clear and undeniable sign of divine favor. This gesture was not a mere formality in the eyes of the ancient Greeks. It was a direct appeal to the cosmos, a request for the gods themselves to intervene in mortal affairs. By doing this, Minos demonstrated his cunning understanding of divine politics. A sign from Poseidon would not only reinforce his claim, but also establish his reign as one underpinned by supernatural power. The ancient world, steeped in its belief that the gods directly influenced every aspect of human life, would have seen such a sign as irrefutable proof that Minos was the rightful king, destined to rule with the gods' blessing. Poseidon, in response to Minos' plea, did indeed send a sign. From the depths of the ocean arose a magnificent white bull, a creature so extraordinary in its beauty, majesty, and strength that it could only have been a gift from the divine. This was no ordinary bull. Its shimmering white coat, rippling muscles, and otherworldly presence signified that it was something far beyond the natural realm. The bull, radiant in its appearance, captured the attention of everyone who saw it, and its emergence from the sea was a clear indication that Poseidon had answered Minos' prayers. It was the kind of miracle that no one could dispute, a clear declaration from the god of the sea himself that Minos had found favor in his eyes. However, as is often the case in Greek mythology, the divine gifts of the gods come with strings attached, and mortals must tread carefully lest they incite the wrath of those who are far more powerful than they. Poseidon's gift of the bull was not meant to be a permanent fixture of Minos' kingdom. The bull was sent for a specific purpose. Minos was to sacrifice it in a grand ritual to honor Poseidon and to demonstrate his gratitude and subservience to the god who had so generously answered his request. This sacrificial act would not only solidify Minos' claim to the throne, but also maintain the delicate balance between mortals and gods. A balance predicated on the understanding that human pride must never overstep divine will. But when Minos laid eyes upon the white bull, he found himself overcome by its beauty and splendor. Its sheer magnificence captivated him to such an extent that he could not bear the thought of parting with it. It was as if the bull's otherworldly presence had ensnared Minos' mind, turning his admiration into obsession. Instead of honoring his vow to sacrifice the bull as he had promised, Minos decided to deceive Poseidon. He reasoned that such a creature so beautiful and rare could not be squandered on a mere sacrifice. Surely, he thought, it would be wiser to keep the bull and offer something less valuable in its place. Thus, Minos made a fateful decision that would set into motion a chain of events leading to his eventual downfall. He sacrificed a far less impressive bull, hoping that Poseidon would either not notice the switch or, at the very least, not care. In doing so, Minos not only broke his promise, but also demonstrated the dangerous hubris that so often led to the ruin of mortals in Greek mythology. By prioritizing his own desires over the will of a god, Minos had committed an act of profound disrespect. He believed that he could outwit Poseidon, that he could manipulate the divine order for his own gain. This arrogance, this hubris, was an offense that would not go unpunished. In the world of Greek mythology, the gods are not easily fooled, nor are they forgiving when it comes to acts of treachery against them. Poseidon, the god who commands the seas and whose power is felt in the crashings of waves and the storms that ravage the coastlines, was not one to be deceived. When he realized that Minos had betrayed him, Poseidon's wrath was swift and unforgiving. He could have struck Minos down immediately, unleashing the full force of his fury upon the king and his kingdom. But the gods of Greek myth often preferred more poetic forms of punishment, ones that would serve as a lasting reminder of the consequences of defying the divine will. Poseidon's revenge was not immediate, but it was devastating. Instead of directing his fury at Minos himself, the god chose to enact his punishment through Queen Pasiphae, Minos' wife. Pasiphae, who had been innocent of any wrongdoing, was caught in the crossfire of Poseidon's vengeance, becoming the unwitting instrument of the god's retribution. The punishment that Poseidon devised was both cruel and unnatural. He caused Pasiphae to fall madly, uncontrollably in love with the very bull that Minos had refused to sacrifice. This was no ordinary attraction, no simple affection or admiration for a beautiful animal. It was a compulsion, an overwhelming and all-consuming desire that defied reason, morality, and the natural order. Pasiphae, unable to resist the powerful and inexplicable love that had taken hold of her, became obsessed with the bull. The once regal queen of Crete known for her dignity and grace, was now driven by a desire so unnatural that it horrified even her closest confidants. She knew that her love for the bull was wrong, that it violated every code of decency and reason. Yet, as is the case in many myths, the characters are often powerless to resist the forces that manipulate them. The gods, in their infinite power, could bend the minds and wills of mortals to their liking, turning their lives into tragic spectacles. In her desperation, Pasiphae sought out the assistance of Daedalus, a name that would come to be associated with both brilliance and tragedy. Daedalus was a master craftsman and inventor, renowned throughout the ancient world for his unparalleled skill in creating mechanical wonders and architectural marvels. He was a man who could shape reality with his hands, a genius whose creations often defied the limitations of the natural world. But despite his brilliance, Daedalus was also a man who found himself entangled in the affairs of the powerful, often caught between his own moral compass and the demands of the rulers he served. When Pasiphae came to Daedalus with her request, he was faced with a dilemma. He knew that what the queen was asking of him was wrong, that it violated the laws of nature and the will of the gods. Yet he also knew that to refuse the queen could lead to his own downfall. Minos was a powerful and ruthless king, and Daedalus had no desire to incur his wrath. And so, reluctantly, Daedalus agreed to help Pasiphae fulfill her unnatural desire. He constructed a hollow wooden cow, covered in real cowhide, a contraption so convincing that even the bull would be deceived. Pasiphae climbed inside the wooden cow, and when the bull approached, it mated with the contraption, completing the union that Poseidon had cursed upon her. From this unnatural union was born the Minotaur, a creature that was as horrifying as it was tragic. The Minotaur, with the body of a man and the head of a bull, was a grotesque hybrid that defied all natural laws. It was a being of immense strength and savage instincts, driven by an insatiable hunger that could not be satisfied by ordinary means. The very existence of the Minotaur was a living testament to the consequences of Minos's pride and Pasiphae's curse, a reminder that the gods' will could not be defied without dire repercussions. Horrified by the monstrous creature that had been born from his wife's unnatural union, Minos sought to hide the evidence of his shame. The Minotaur was a constant reminder of his own hubris, and its presence in the royal palace was a stain on his legacy. Desperate to contain the beast, Minos once again turned to Daedalus for help. He commissioned the master craftsman to build a structure that would serve as both a prison for the Minotaur and a means of concealing the shame that the creature represented. Thus, Daedalus designed and constructed the labyrinth, a structure so intricate and so vast that it was said to be impossible to escape once inside. The labyrinth was a masterpiece of engineering, a maze of twisting corridors, dead ends, and hidden passages that confounded anyone who dared enter. Its purpose was not only to confine the Minotaur, but also to trap anyone who might try to navigate its confusing paths. The labyrinth was a symbol of both human ingenuity and madness, a reflection of the complexity of the human mind and the dark, chaotic forces that lie within. The story of the Minotaur, the labyrinth, and the unfortunate tribute from Athens is not only a tale of divine punishment and monstrous retribution, but also one of human endurance, defiance, and the eventual triumph of a hero who would become one of Greece's most celebrated figures, Theseus. As the labyrinth became the prison for the Minotaur and a symbol of King Minos' hubris, it also became a representation of Minos' tyranny over Athens, a city that had once been proud and independent, but was now forced into submission under the weight of a horrific tribute. The conflict between Athens and Crete arose in the context of an era marked by constant warfare, alliances, and betrayals. Athens, a city-state renowned for its culture, democracy, and burgeoning naval power, had found itself at odds with Minos and the powerful Cretan kingdom. The two cities clashed in a series of conflicts that eventually resulted in a humiliating defeat for Athens. As part of the peace settlement, Minos imposed a devastating condition on the Athenians, a tribute that would not only serve as a reminder of their defeat, but also provide a continual source of grief and suffering. Every 9 years, Athens was required to send 7 young men and 7 young women to Crete as a sacrifice to the Minotaur. This tribute was a stark reminder of Crete's dominance and Athens' submission, as well as the inescapable nature of the labyrinth, where the doomed youths would be sent to meet their grisly fate. For the people of Athens, this tribute was more than just a physical loss of their sons and daughters. It was a psychological torment that cast a long shadow over the city. Each time the tribute was due, the citizens of Athens were consumed with dread, knowing that their children could be among those chosen. The selection of the youths became a ritual of sorrow, a grim lottery that determined who would face the Minotaur's insatiable hunger. The journey to Crete was, for these young Athenians, a march towards certain death, a fate sealed by the impenetrable walls of the labyrinth and the monstrous beast that lurked within its depths. The Minotaur itself had become a symbol of terror, a manifestation of their deepest fears, and the embodiment of the monstrous power that Crete held over them. The tribute also served as a reminder of the fragility of life and the arbitrary nature of fate, where even the strongest and most capable youths could be offered up to a fate as brutal and merciless as the Minotaur's wrath. For King Minos, the tribute was a demonstration of his absolute power, not only over Athens but also over his own people, who saw their king as a figure capable of wielding both political and divine authority. The labyrinth, the Minotaur, and the tribute were interwoven into a system of control that kept Minos' grip on power tight and unyielding. However, the story of the Minotaur and the labyrinth was not destined to remain one of endless sacrifice and despair. It is in the figure of Theseus, the young prince of Athens, that the tale finds its hero and its resolution. Theseus, born of royal blood as the son of King Aegeus of Athens, was not content to stand by and watch his city suffer under the cruel tribute. His courage, intelligence, and sense of justice were qualities that would soon propel him into the annals of history as one of the greatest heroes of Greek mythology. The ongoing tribute to Crete, which had cast a dark pall over Athens for years, became the catalyst for Theseus' decision to take action and confront the Minotaur once and for all. Theseus' resolve to put an end to the tribute was not just an act of personal bravery, but one of profound selflessness and responsibility. He understood that the fate of his city rested on his shoulders, and he was willing to risk his life to save not only the Athenian youths, but also the future of Athens itself. He volunteered to be one of the 7 young men sent to Crete, but unlike the others, Theseus had no intention of succumbing to the labyrinth's deadly traps or the Minotaur's ferocious appetite. Instead, he devised a daring and audacious plan to slay the creature and end the monstrous tribute forever. Before setting out on his perilous journey to Crete, Theseus sought the counsel of his father, King Aegeus. Aegeus, though proud of his son's bravery, was also deeply concerned for his safety. He knew that no one had ever escaped the labyrinth alive, and the Minotaur's savage reputation was well known throughout Greece. In a moment of poignant symbolism, Aegeus made a simple yet emotionally charged request of his son. He asked Theseus to change the sails of his ship from black to white upon his return, should he succeed in his mission. The black sails, traditionally a sign of mourning and despair, reflected the grim fate that awaited the Athenian youths in Crete. If Theseus were victorious, the white sails would signal his triumph and the end of the tribute. This seemingly small request underscored the emotional stakes of Theseus' journey, as his success or failure would not only determine his fate, but also the hopes and future of Athens. As Theseus and the other Athenian youths arrived in Crete, they were presented before King Minos and the people of Crete in a grim procession, a public display of Crete's dominance over Athens. The youths were paraded as if they were already condemned, their fate sealed by the labyrinth's impenetrable walls and the Minotaur's ravenous hunger. However, amidst the crowds, a key figure observed these events: the Princess Ariadne, daughter of King Minos and Queen Pasiphae. Upon seeing Theseus, Ariadne was struck by his courage, his noble bearing, and the sense of purpose that radiated from him. She fell deeply in love with him, and it was this love that would ultimately change the course of the story. Ariadne's love for Theseus was not merely a romantic infatuation, it was the catalyst that enabled Theseus to succeed where so many others had failed. Ariadne knew the labyrinth's dangers better than anyone. She was well aware that no one who had entered it had ever returned. She understood that without some form of assistance, Theseus would likely share the same fate as the countless others who had been sacrificed to the Minotaur. Driven by her feelings for Theseus and her desire to defy her father's cruel legacy, Ariadne made the bold decision to help him. In doing so, she defied not only her father's authority, but also the entire system of power that the labyrinth and the Minotaur represented. Ariadne provided Theseus with a seemingly simple yet profoundly important tool: a ball of thread. At first glance, this gift might have seemed insignificant compared to the terrifying challenge that lay ahead, but in truth, it was the key to Theseus's survival and victory. As Theseus ventured into the labyrinth, he unraveled the thread behind him, using it to mark his path through the maze's bewildering and disorienting corridors. This thread would allow him to retrace his steps and find his way out after confronting the Minotaur, a lifeline that no previous victim of the labyrinth had possessed. With the thread in hand, Theseus entered the labyrinth, prepared to face the monstrous creature that had claimed so many lives. The labyrinth, with its twisting passages and endless turns, was designed to disorient and confuse all who entered it. Its corridors were silent and dark, and the oppressive atmosphere seemed to close in on Theseus as he ventured deeper into its heart. The labyrinth was not merely a physical structure. It was a psychological space, a place where fear and uncertainty reigned, where the very act of finding one's way could drive a person to madness. Theseus, however, remained focused and determined, relying on the thread and his unwavering resolve to guide him. As he approached the center of the labyrinth, the tension mounted, the stillness of the maze was palpable, and the anticipation of the encounter with the Minotaur weighed heavily on Theseus's mind. Finally, in the deepest recesses of the labyrinth, Theseus came face to face with the Minotaur. The creature, as terrifying as the legends had foretold, was a massive and fearsome figure with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Its eyes burned with a primal rage, and its very presence exuded an aura of danger and violence. The battle between Theseus and the Minotaur was fierce and brutal. Theseus knew that he could not match the Minotaur in sheer strength, for the creature's physical power was immense. Instead, Theseus relied on his agility, intelligence, and the weapons he had brought with him. The narrow confines of the labyrinth became both an advantage and a challenge. As Theseus used the maze's tight corridors to outmaneuver the beast, dodging its savage attacks and striking back when the opportunity arose, the Minotaur, driven by its animalistic instincts, fought with relentless fury. But Theseus' strategy and determination ultimately proved to be the deciding factors. In a final, decisive moment, Theseus managed to strike a fatal blow, slaying the Minotaur and ending its reign of terror once and for all. The creature that had once been a symbol of Crete's dominance, a force that had instilled fear in the hearts of Athenians for years, now lay defeated. With the Minotaur dead, Theseus had not only saved his people, but also freed Athens from the oppressive tribute that had haunted the city for so long. But Theseus's challenge was not over yet. He still had to find his way out of the labyrinth, and it was here that Ariadne's gift once again proved invaluable. The thread that Theseus had unraveled as he entered the labyrinth now guided him back through the maze's twists and turns, leading him to safety. When Theseus emerged from the labyrinth, victorious and alive, the weight of what he had accomplished began to sink in. He had not only defeated a monster, but had also broken the cycle of sacrifice and despair that had plagued his city. Theseus's victory was more than just a personal triumph. It was a victory for all of Athens. By slaying the Minotaur, Theseus had freed his people from the grip of Crete's tyranny and restored hope to a city that had been living under the shadow of fear and loss. His heroism became the stuff of legend, and his name would forever be associated with the ideals of courage, intelligence, and justice. However, the story of Theseus and the Minotaur does not end with the death of the creature. As Theseus and the other Athenian youths sailed back to Athens, their hearts filled with joy and relief, a tragic twist awaited them. In the midst of the celebrations, Theseus forgot to change the ship's sails from black to white, as he had promised his father. The black sails, a symbol of mourning, still flew on the ship's mast as it approached the Athenian harbor. When King Aegeus saw the black sails in the distance, he was overcome with grief, believing that his son had perished in the labyrinth. In his despair, Aegeus threw himself into the sea, which would forever bear his name, the Aegean Sea. Theseus' victory, while glorious, was thus tinged with sorrow, a reminder that even the greatest triumphs can come at a cost. Upon returning to Athens, Theseus ascended to the throne, becoming a just and wise ruler who would lead the city to new heights of power and influence. His defeat of the Minotaur became a symbol of the triumph of order over chaos, of civilization over barbarism, and of reason over the primal forces that threatened to undo human progress. The labyrinth, with its endless twists and turns, represented the complexity of the human mind and the challenges that life presents. Theseus' victory was not just physical, but also moral, as he had proven that even the darkest, most dangerous challenges could be overcome through courage, intelligence, and the support of others, like Ariadne, whose love and assistance had been essential to his success. The myth of the Minotaur and Theseus has endured for millennia, captivating the imagination of generations and inspiring countless works of art, literature, and philosophy. The story's themes of heroism, sacrifice, and the struggle between order and chaos continue to resonate with modern audiences. The Minotaur, as a symbol of the monstrous and the unknown, remains a potent figure in our cultural consciousness, representing the fears and challenges that we all face in navigating the labyrinths of life.